such a bitch. We can't stomach cancer. It's getting on our tits. Cancer, cancer, cancer. Oh, cancer's such a bitch. Oh, we can't stomach cancer. It's getting on our tits. With Vez and Liv.
And we are live.
Woo!
How weird is this? Like, we actually have our setup now. We can talk to you.
I know. We've done so much work.
There's been so much going on behind the scenes to get this going. Like, we wanted to kind of express so much, and we thought this is definitely the best place to do it. But God, we've got a podcast. Like, you're here with Liv and Vez. I can't stomach this getting on my tits. This is great.
We're unemployed people, but actually the amount of work we put into this is more than full-time. Where's our money?
The amount of hours we're putting in. Yeah. We're two normal people struck down in our prime.
Yeah.
And here we are telling our story to people that we hope really care.
We hope you care.
If you're here for advice, though, that's what we're going to do, like a how-to vibe. A lot of it is going to be what we did, what we've experienced, and then what we would do differently. Because both of us are going through the second, third time round, and we've kind of definitely dropped our expectations. Because we know what to expect, but it's never the same. Like, no two things are the same with this. Anytime you go into hospital, it's always different.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're doing this again and again and again, and getting to know different things. It would be cruel not to share with you like the things we found out and little things to help make things better.
It's just about advice and being able to relate and be like, oh my God, someone else feels this way. That's cool.
This is a safe space.
This is a safe space.
Well, it bloody better be. I mean, I was about to say what's said in this room stays in this room, but we're literally uploading this. The whole world is going to know.
The whole world's going to know.
If you're one of our 5 listeners, thank you.
It's not about the numbers, it's about the impact. It's all about participating.
God, you never won any races in school, did you? You were there. It's taking part that counts, kind of gal. I was completely different. I was so competitive at heart.
Actually, I remember I used to play basketball because I'm tall, obviously.
Oh, you were Lithuania. You were different setups with you.
Yeah,
that is
from
something.
Then on, I was the foreign freak that was really aggressive during basketball.
We can make that a drinking game throughout this.
Yeah.
Count how many drink for every time that Liv says foreign.
Hashtag insecure.
There's so many things. Oh God. We've lost our inhibitions completely now, I think, for this.
Yeah.
To speak about what we're going to speak about.
I just don't care. I'm just like, this is my experience, this is my life, this is what I'm doing.
And anyone who knows us knows we're not like
happy.
that. Yeah.
And that's it. Like, if you don't like me, that's fine. That's your problem, not mine. Go away.
She just made, for those who can't see, she just made a very savage face. She don't care. She's sassy.
Anyways, today's episode is all about our journey so far.
Our cancer journey.
Cancer journey.
You can't say that without it being a meme in itself, can you? Let's instead touch on ourselves. Not like that. We won't be doing that behind the scenes. Like we said, this is a place we want people to relate. And in order to do that, we have to get right down to the nitty-gritty about ourselves. All of those horrible things we've been through. Trying to make light of it, aren't we? We're just going to joke about it and really shed some light on something that it does all happen. Literally, it happens behind closed doors. Like the whole time I was in hospital, I shut the door, shut the world out. So everything that we're experiencing, any cancer patient is most likely gone through. But to the people that have no real knowledge or no relation to cancer or haven't experienced it at all within their families, this is for you as like almost like just this is what it is.
Yeah, I think we need to touch on how other people's reactions and how other people helped or didn't help.
Yeah, I think that's
not just their reactions, but also their actions. Not just reactions, but also the actions.
Acting is reacting. Which is really important, though, isn't it? The truth behind most of this is that some things are really helpful and some things aren't, and no one's ever going to know unless someone tells them.
Yeah.
So we're not here to offend anyone who's ever said some kind but really, really useless words to us.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it was about. We were obviously very grateful for anyone who's
Even
considered
put the
us. Yeah,
effort
spared
in.
a second's thought, spared a thought or a prayer. We're very grateful for that, even if it wasn't the most helpful at the time. And that's just a learning curve. No one knows. There's no manual that goes with getting cancer.
No.
When you're diagnosed, they don't just hand you something and go, oh, just follow steps 1 through 100 and then you'll get it, you'll complete your journey, you'll carry on. Like, there isn't, you don't have that luxury. It's a lot of it is finding and figuring it out for yourself and doing exactly what we're doing, which is going on the word of other people.
Yeah.
I know you said before, haven't you, said to me that the reason you slid into my DMs was because you'd much rather talk to someone who's experienced it than go to Google.
Yeah.
Because they always say Google's
hard.
a bad place.
It is. So whatever symptoms you have and you Google it, you're either pregnant or you're dying. There's no in between.
Yeah, there's it's a baby or death. Yeah. Baby or an early grave. I mean, a baby might put you in an early grave. I've heard that parenting is very hard. But we don't have any of that shebang, so I don't have that problem.
Shout out to the medical menopause.
Whoop, whoop, whoop. Very.
Menopause at 22. What a life.
I mean, it does make your sex life very stress-free. What sex life? Lol.
What sex life?
What sex life?
Too much information. I do apologise.
Should we literally just dive right in?
Yeah.
To the day I nearly died. There's been lots of days of that, actually. Let's just start at the very beginning.
Our stories are different in the fact that, obviously, Verity was diagnosed at a much younger age than me.
I was in school and you were at work.
Yeah.
I like that because we know we relate on so many levels, even though our treatments were very different in themselves. But even, like, where we were at in life, I feel like I was stunted before I could really make anything of myself. But I guess it is fair to say you'd at least finished all of your qualifications to get you somewhere.
What qualifications?
The honesty that you're going to
Shout out to the UK government who refused to give me a student loan. Thanks for nothing. I couldn't go to uni because of you. See what you did there.
So we're not going to insult people. We're going to insult the entire establishment and society. Great.
Shout out to the lady who refused to give me a student loan.
So the drinking game's well underway here. About 5 shots down. Yeah, let's just
dive right into it.
Not beat around the bush. Go bush. There's going to be so many puns like that, isn't there? Where I just sit there and go, bush, ha, what bush? You lose that on chemo. Let's not beat about the hairless bush. And dive straight in.
I love that. I just feel like I can't be trusted.
That's rude.
Sorry,
I've been in a committed relationship for 4 years. Thank you very much. Shout out to my boyfriend, my boo, for not leaving me when I was bold. I hope he tunes in and just listens to all of this drama he's lived through. Me just repeating it all and him going, that's not how it happened though, was it? You say you're not crying. You were a mess actually, Verity, the whole time.
This is Verity's story.
Thank you, Livetta. I'll begin. Welcome to my TED Talk. I'm Verity. I am 20. Yeah, I mean, there's no really easy way to start. I was young. I was in school. I was kind of sheep-herded towards the same thing. So getting cancer immediately, it was like a massive arrow above my head. Yeah, it literally was. So from the very beginning, it was a bit of a mess. It was all a whole mess, to be honest. It's after my birthday, actually, I think was when I kind of noticed it. I put it down to bloating from the amount of food I was eating at the time. And like, I didn't have like the best diet. So I thought it was bloating. It was quite hard. I'd get my boyfriend to like poke it and be like, does this feel normal? And why would you not think that it was just bloating? So it kind of put my mind not at rest. I was a little bit like, why is my stomach weird? Like, why isn't it flat like everyone else? It's got this like weird bump in. And then the bump gradually started moving to being a little bit more lumpy on one side, not the other. So it wasn't like a perfect curve. And that's when I started thinking, that's weird. Like, something is actually growing. It's not just like my stomach or indigestion or anything like that. My mind jumped straight to bouncing baby boy. I genuinely thought I was pregnant. I was like, this is bad. And I took so many pregnancy tests. I took like 3, but that is quite a lot when you're not used to doing it. And they all came back negative. And I'm just thinking like, I'm 17. So it got to a point where I thought, no, I need to get this checked out by the doctor. So I got an appointment before school and went in, and it was, and I'd not really been ill per se, so it's not like I'd had any real reason to be like, I'm going to drop my trousers now. So it was a bit, that was like breaking that boundary. That was the first boundary or like hurdle I jumped over in everything hospital. And she just kind of felt it, and you immediately know when they're like, So I was saying, I've definitely had 3 negative pregnancy tests. I'm not pregnant. Tell me what it is. And she was like, I think you might be 12 weeks pregnant. Yeah. And this was at like 6, 7 a.m. like before school. But then she wasn't sure. She scheduled an ultrasound for the same day. And if you know the NHS, as great as it is, you never really get appointments on the same day.
No.
So to get an ultrasound was quite miraculous. And looking back now, it was really, really good. And I just thought that was normal, that I'll just have a few hours and then go and have another test. So I went to school thinking, am I pregnant? I've just been told I might be.
So scary.
I mean, it was a bit odd. I didn't really know what to do.
You weren't.
But I wasn't. So yeah, I went to school and dealt with that. So I went for my ultrasound, and they rubbed the gel on, and within the first 5 seconds there was silence, and I was like, there's not a baby in there. There really isn't, because they would have said they're looking for something and they've not found it. So then they said they wanted to do an internal, and I didn't realise that an internal probe was a thing. So I like closed my legs and was like, oh my god, okay, I'll gear up for that.
Cold jelly.
And they shoved it. Well, they delicately. They felt like a bloody shove. It was horrible. I was like, I'm not welcoming this into my lower environment right now. I want to be hostile. I had a hostile environment. That's why the tumour was growing. But they looked at it and said, yeah, there's a mass. And they referred to it as a mass, an 11 centimetre mass. They said that it was most likely a dermoid cyst. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, cyst sounds so gross. Yeah. I think the definition of a dermoid cyst is a sac-like growth present at birth, contains things like hair, teeth, skin, and it grows slowly. It's not tender unless ruptured, and it usually grows in the ovaries and other places. I think it can grow in your face. Really gross. So that's why they thought, okay, there's a mass. It's obviously in that section where your ovaries are. Most likely is a dermoid cyst. So in my head now, I had this picture of this gross alien abomination. So that thought was pretty horrible. That was what I was told. And that was what I knew. So it's like I was going back into school knowing I wasn't pregnant now. All I know is that since hitting puberty, like, I'd had really irregular periods. I was in loads of pain as well. My time of the month was horrible. Like, I'd be sent home from school in like agony, like doubled over in pain. So, and considering where it was growing, that kind of, in my head, I was like, okay, so clearly it's been growing for a while.
Yeah, especially if it was that big to start with.
Yeah, like 11 centimetres. It's not like overly big. So then fast forward a few weeks, like I let weeks go by after that initial thing. There was nothing really to do. It was almost like, yeah, you've got a cyst, we'll wait for an appointment. Maybe you'll get it removed. We'll see what happens. I did have a blood test in between that and nothing was raised. And I do remember being like, this is shit. Like, I don't want a needle in my arm. I was a proper needle phobe back then. Weren't we all though? Like, everyone was a needle phobe.
Yeah, cancer changes that. You're just like, yeah, stab me, do whatever you want.
This is my one good vein. Yeah. Please get it first time. So I had this thing in me, and I just remember the night it all kicked off, I couldn't sleep. Like, I had a real sleepless night, and it got to 3 a.m. and I went to try and sleep in the living room on the sofa, because I didn't want to wake up my boyfriend. I was dumbing it down. Like, I really didn't think it was anything serious. Yeah. And I didn't want to then cause a rift, like, in our relationship, because it was in its infancy. Yeah. And I was like, I don't want to cause, like, massive chaos and make you think I'm really dramatic when you've got to go to work the next day. So I went on the sofa, called my mum. Like, me and my mum are really close. So I rarely go like 5 minutes. It's not unusual for me to like call her like 10 times a day just with like life updates of like, I'm eating a chicken nugget now, mum, what are you eating? Like, I mean, in the middle of the night, that's very unusual. That's not happening. So she did pick up and she was like, are you okay? You're not okay, are you? And I was in really bad pain. And I think the best thing was that I threw up. I think that, like, based on how much pain I was in, they take you seriously when you kind of, like, unload. It's clearly inside is not okay, is it? So I was very glad I vomited, because by the time I got to A&E at 4am, my mum, bless her, came to pick me up. My boyfriend was just kind of like, what's going on? Okay, I'll go back to bed. But yeah, he just kind of woke up, waved me off, didn't think much of it, because neither did I. I wasn't given... I hadn't given him... No, like, I hadn't really given anyone the impression that it was really bad. Like, it was literally just this thing growing, could be removed, might not, might be fine. So he just gave me a little pet goodbye. My mum drove me to A&E because she wasn't working the next day. By the time I got there, the pain had subsided, typically. So when they were asked me to rate my pain to see where I go, like triage or whatever, like make sure that I'm bad enough, I said 2. A measly little 2, I know.
What an honest person.
I know, it was horrible. I got a swift nudge from my mum, I'll tell you that. She was very much like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you say it's a 10, and then you get in there and you get seen. I did say, as soon as I figured out that I probably should have said, no, it's really bad, I want to be seen, I said, well, I've been told, like, I've got this 11 centimetre mass inside me, and that's when they kind of were like, oh, okay, and you said you threw up. And I was like, yeah. So then I got more blood tests and ECG, like things like that. And the infection marker on my blood test was raised. So then coupled with like the abdominal pain, the obstruction, like everything like that, they thought it might be appendicitis. And because that didn't really fit, like it didn't hurt when they touched it, even though they were like, we just don't really know what it is, they decided to blue light me up to St. Michael's. Like this, I was fine by that point. Like the pain had really gone. I think it was just the adrenaline of being in hospital and knowing you're going to get seen. For some reason, anytime I go in hospital, everything goes. All my side effects go, bye, you're on your own. Deal with it. So they blue lighted me. How dramatic. Like, fight. You know where the BRI is, and St. Michael's is literally up the hill.
Oh, they what?
That's what I mean. They blew, because they were like, you're technically like a patient now. You can't just walk off. We can't let you go, because that's obviously like negligent or something.
So they gave you literally a lift uphill.
I've got a video of it. I Snapchatted this all because I just thought this is going to make a great story next week when I'm back in school as normal. So I went into hospital, and that was where I had my first CT scan with those lovely nurses. Shout out to my nurses, because I've had them, the same people pretty much, on the ward for every single operation in the last 3 years.
Amazing.
Like I go back and I'm like, hi, it's me again.
I'm still here.
Exactly, still fat and bitch.
Thriving.
So I had my first CT scan there. Did not realise that what she was poking in my arm was not the needle of a blood test. It was the needle of a cannula. And I was just like, oh my God. And I didn't realise I could like move my arm. I fully didn't realise what a cannula was. So when I walked to my CT, I had my arm like fully straightened out. Like, I can't move, it's going to poke me, it's going to destroy me. It must be like a right weirdo. So that was fun. I do remember being like, oh, I'm special, going in the CT scanner. Like it's all first, isn't it? Like it's weird. It's not excitement, but it's like nervous anticipation makes you really weird. It makes it like, ooh, like, oh, this is new. It's just new experiences.
CT scan, though, the sensation you get from it.
Oh God, yeah, because I have contrast. Oh God, the contrast. FYI, for those people that don't know what contrast is, when they put contrast in you, you can feel it trail down your neck, and it basically feels like you've wet yourself, and it just makes everything light up. When they put the dye in afterwards. So you drink stuff, then something gets injected into you as you're going through, and everything lights up, and it's all great. It makes
tastes
it
a bit like metal at the back of your mouth, and then you're like in between your legs.
You can feel
it feels really warm.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, have I just peed myself?
So you've got to make sure that you have emptied your bladder before, because I've gone in there and I actually thought I'd pissed my pants. Like, I'll lie there for a while and like until I've like felt my jeans. You are convinced.
You're panicking. Yeah.
You are. You get
like,
the panic.
Did I just pee myself?
Brings a whole new meaning to scanxiety, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So I had all that. Then I went back. Those few days, there was a real like debate. Like conflicting opinions of whether to send me home for up to 4 weeks possibly before operating, or operate now. So I was getting like teased with the offer of food, and then being like, no, we might operate, so you're not having it. And I was like, I'm really hungry, I've been here for ages.
Yeah.
And then I met with my surgeon, because there was a bit of a debate about whether gynae should do it or gynae oncology should do it. They went with obviously gynae oncology. I didn't know oncology meant cancer. Like, why would I ever have to know that in day-to-day life? So it obviously ticked a little box in my mum's head when they said gynae onc, and she was like, her mind started like racing towards what it could be. I was just lying there crying that I was like, I'm going to lose an appendix. I don't even know what it's used for, but it's gone. I was like, I'm going to be really hollow on the inside. Because it's a weird thing when you're signing your life away and you're consenting to, remove all of this. It's like, oh God. And my scar, the cut they made, this first cut was only from my belly button down to like my pubic bone. It was really like small when you think about it. And it was really, really neat. My one request was, can you please take a photo when it goes to pathology? Because I want to see what the hell has been inside me. Because obviously I had this picture of hair, teeth, weird brain thing. I wanted to kind of know what it was. And so then I went about my life. Like, I think after I came out of hospital, like, I bounced back quite quickly. I think I was in there for about 5 days. Did the typical, like, throwing up. Morphine was fun, though. Like, it was, I think it was only a 3-hour operation. And at that point, I was like, that's a long one. Wow. I've been through so much. The things I've seen. I just went back into school, because I think it was through summer, and we had, like, a sixth form, like, second year induction thing where you carry on, like, with your A-levels. And I just went in and was like, show off, look at me, I'm back, bitches. Then went in for my checkup, and my mum knew before I did. Oh God, she knew. She saw the extra nurses in that like tiny little room and just thought, why would they need to be there? And even when he said, yeah, it's a tumour, I still didn't make the connection to cancer.
So after the operation, a few weeks after that, they obviously tested it.
Yeah, they did all of that.
Went back
and I went back
to
I went back in a new outfit I'd bought, because I was like, I'm bougie now. I'm going to retail therapy the shit out of my life right now. So I've actually not worn those jeans since.
Really?
I've just like, I can't do that. Or the jumper, I was like, that's a horrible outfit now. That's my diagnosis day outfit.
It's funny how you related to that, isn't it? And then you're like, I'm not going to wear that. That brings me bad luck.
It was. So I don't go near that. Then they showed me. He said it was a tumour, and I asked to see the picture because my mind was racing a bit and I didn't know I couldn't make head nor tails of what he was telling me. It didn't make sense. And I was like, I need something visual right now. And he showed me the picture, and it was 25 centimetres on that ruler. So it had grown in the space of 2 weeks from that initial ultrasound to me going into A&E and having that CT scan. There were 2 weeks. There was a two-week gap.
Wow.
And it had grown from 11 to 25.
That's crazy.
And I mean, there was no need to ask, oh, is it benign? Because obviously that was malignant as hell. That was growing fast. And they said it was an aggressive cancer, because they originally diagnosed me with ovarian. It was stage 1, because then it spread. Like, they don't know if it spread or if the 4 little tumours were just missed on the initial scan, because it was just like completely.
Where were the other 4 tumours?
They were like the back of my abdomen, by my bowel, I think initially they were. So they just thought maybe that the massive tumour was just so in the way you just couldn't see those little 4 ones, and they didn't grow so much. Like, I went back into hospital for my second operation. The initial operation was June, and then that operation was August, and then in between that, when they found out, then when they did my like checkup CT scan to make sure it was clear and they saw them, they said, you need to do fertility treatment now, because that was a question my mum had asked. She asked, it was like a hindsight thing. She was like, you've removed her ovary, can you then take eggs from it? And they were like, no, that's not how it works. They need to be harvested while they're in you. You need to be taking like drugs and stuff to make sure that they're like big. That was where I was diverted towards. Like, they were like, we don't know what we're going to have to remove. We want to preserve your fertility. Like, chemo can make you infertile, but also what makes you infertile is if they literally have to cut it out of you.
Fertility treatment, though, is very interesting, isn't it?
Have you? You haven't got.
I had it as well, and for me, as someone that's never been into hospital, I was just amazed.
It is mad, isn't it?
I was like, that's crazy that they can do that. I've got babies on ice. I've got 12.
Yeah, I've got 5. But have you got eggs?
Oh, yeah, I've got
eggs. You got eggs. Wait, what have you got?
Eggs.
You got eggs,
yeah.
And I got embryos. They didn't really know how to feel, because I was obviously like, I'd only been with my boyfriend for about nearly a year, and I was like, well, no, I know that it's cancer. I know that this is my only real chance of like, possibly my only real chance of having kids. And they were looking at it as if you break up, you won't want to use it kind of thing. And I was looking at it as, if we break up, this guy's hot, he's intelligent, he's got stuff going for him, like, that is good DNA. Like, if I was gonna...
I want his baby.
I want his baby.
If there's a chance I want his baby. No, I think it's amazing that fertility treatment, it's a frustrating thing, because in my case, I was waiting to start chemo.
Yeah.
And the only thing stopping me from getting chemo was trying to grow these bloody eggs inside me.
Yeah.
By doing those injections, like you said.
They're
and it's
weird
that
injections.
balancing game, because you're like going in every day for a scan, and they're like, no, they're too small, they're too small, too small. And then the next day they're like, oh, they're too big now.
It's
Let's
weird.
start again.
I don't remember much of that, because I just was kind of all caught up with it. It felt like a little chemistry experiment, having to extract the powder.
Yeah.
So I can't really remember it, but it is mad, isn't it, that you
It's
go
crazy.
in, and it's also weird because we were really young.
Yeah.
Like, when you go in, I remember first going in, I was like, I'm 17, I'm tall, but I was like, I'm not on the maturity scale or like looking at the same
And
age
you
as
see
any
all
of these
those
women.
couples there in the waiting room.
Yeah.
Like older couples.
They want kids. They're there because they want kids.
IVF, and they're looking at you like, why are you here? You're
Do you
so
want a
young.
baby? Yeah, and I
You
think
are so young.
that's the weird thing, isn't it? It felt like we
It's
were going
strange.
in, like, some of them may have had any amount of reasons for it, but from our point of view, there's no way anyone our age is going to get IVF to have a baby.
No.
So we felt it was a weird thing of feeling out of place.
But no, and it's a quick operation. It's a quick procedure.
I was so ill after that. I remember just gorging on hash browns and sleeping on the sofa, like, into... I think Luke just left me on the sofa and went to bed. And so I woke up at 3 a.m, like, what the hell's going on? I feel so sick of eating too many carbs. But it is, that was another cannula moment of me being like, can I have numbing cream?
That was my very first operation. I've never had an operation before that.
That's quite... I would...
But it's like quite minimal. I don't think they
Yeah.
even do like full anaesthetic.
It's a nice introduction
Yeah,
to a theatre room, isn't it?
Lovely, just testing the water a bit.
Yeah, it was just to dip
But
your
no, it
feet
was
in.
fun.
No, I
I
don't know.
woke up and I was like, give me food.
Yeah.
Biscuits and tea,
I tell you what, doctors and hospitals, they love giving you crackers and cheese. They always referred to me as a baby. They were like, oh, you're a little baby, you hungry? And I was like, I would like some crackers and cheese, give me it. And that, like, crackers and cheese I've eaten my weight in any hospital. So yeah, like...
After the fertility treatment, so was that when they were like, yeah, it's definitely cancer, or like...
Yeah, no, they knew from, like, seeing that massive tumour, and they said it's a tumour. That day, that checkup day, I ended up meeting with my oncologist. I met with him. I did bring in, for that initial checkup day, a massive kind of bundle of sweets for the nurses to say thank you for looking after me. And I was like, I'm sorry, I need them more than you. And I just ate all of them while I was, like, crying, talking to the surgeon about, like, because they make you sign your life away straight up. As soon as they meet you, you're handed loads of forms. They're like, these are the side effects, this is what drugs you're going to be on. Don't Google shit. That's what you get told. Those are, like, the 3 top things. So then when I had my second operation, my initial surgeon, he'd retired. Like, I think he'd...
That's it, I quit, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah, I think I was one of his
longevity.
last operations, so I got him a nice bottle of whiskey. So I had a new surgeon, and she's been my surgeon ever since. I will ask for her. It's her and my anaesthetist. They have done all my operations, and I really trust them. Like, I feel so secure in their hands. And it feels like a bit like, yeah, go girl power.
Girl power.
They're my team. They're my go-to team for every surgery now. So I had those 4 little ones removed in August 2017. I started chemo in the second year of sixth form. So I immediately knew where my priorities were. I didn't care about uni. I didn't care about anything. I just, what else is there to care about when you're going through chemo? Yeah. You look different. You're not, like, everyone else was fretting about trying to get into Oxbridge or just trying to get into uni. And I'm like, nah, I'll pop in when I want. I've already dropped, like, 1.5 of my A-levels. I'll see what I get. I got 2 A's, not to big myself up, but I did. And then after chemo, I went about my business, tried to reinsert myself into society, which failed, but it doesn't matter because then I relapsed. So that's fine.
So how soon after did you relapse?
It's another bit of a mess. Nothing's ever
straightforward,
is it? No, not with us. I finished January 2018. That was when essentially my remission officially started. And then I got weird pain in the September, so like 7 months later. And I had a CT scan because I went into A&E again, and then obviously my pain just went away when I got into A&E.
Yeah.
But they still gave me a scan, and then they said, no, nothing's there. I didn't know until I had relapsed that on those notes they had put possible recurrence, as in they thought that my symptoms that I presented were an indication of a recurrence. So those notes for the CT, the reasons why the CT, it had it on there. But it had come back, my oncologist, everyone said, no, there's nothing there. So then I carried on, well into 2019. I had Glastonbury last year. I'm really, really excited about that, but I was so tired. Like, every time I've never presented symptoms, nothing's ever appeared on my blood tests, but I've just been absolutely knackered. Like, to the point where I just couldn't get up for school. I was having to have naps all the way through 2017, 2019, any time I've had cancer growing. I've just been so tired. But those have been my only symptoms, which is really difficult, because when they say, oh, we'll only scan you if you present symptoms, I'm like, what is there to present? Until there's something massive growing in my stomach, I have no clue.
Yeah.
So
that's so difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was hard because I'd shown pain, I'd had symptoms there, and they'd said I was fine. So I really had no idea where my body was at. Before Glastonbury, I'd had a bit of a tricky few months where my hormones, I couldn't get the levels right. It was really, really complicated. I had really horrible skin. I mean, everyone knows chemo clears up your skin, and I just had spots everywhere during my remission. I had a few good months where I was just like feeling myself. I was like, I'm going to be a model, like, woo. And then my skin just got horrible. I got tired. My face just looked a mess. And I thought, something's not right. I'm getting hot flushes. Everything's out of control. Let's try and bring my hormones back in line.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of appointments with various doctors at St Michael's, where one of them suggested maybe get the coil, because you don't have to worry about getting pregnant, because you can't. You have a uterus, but you don't have any ovaries. So I never had to worry about contraceptives or anything. When they had inserted it, I was in so much pain afterwards. Coil just was not good. Yeah. It was not a good thing. And a week later, they obviously say like, oh, you'll feel the threads, and then they soften. And I couldn't feel them. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to get a checkup with my GP. And she did another internal, like, speculum, open you up. Whoop, hate that.
What?
There's going to be so many noises of us just gagging and PTSD and all. And she was like, I can't actually see the coil. And yeah, there is a lot of blood. It was basically like, I hadn't had a period for like 2 years. So since both my ovaries got removed, I didn't have a single period. So this bleeding was just really annoying. I was like, I've thrown out all my period pants. I'm just with like cute Victoria's Secret underwear right now. I can't, what do you want me to do? I don't like tampons. I don't want anything up then. I'm done. I'm out. I've tapped out of being, of this kind of part of womanhood. So she gave me like tranexamic acid, which helps with bleeding, and then said, we'll get you an ultrasound. And this is where my problems started. This was where initially I was thinking, this isn't the level of care I want to be receiving right now. Like, shit has gone wrong. It was when I went for an ultrasound, and on the notes, they didn't realise I didn't have any ovaries. So they were like, okay, we're going to be taking a look at your ovaries right now, aren't we? And I was like, I mean, I don't have any ovaries, so do you know what you're looking for? Like, I did not have any faith
crazy.
Right then. I think my mind was thinking, something's wrong, something's been missed, and I was waiting for someone to pick up on it, and I was angry that no one was. It wasn't like I wasn't being taken seriously. It was just like my body was just this mess, and no one, not even me, could make sense of it.
I think that's quite a natural way to feel though, when something's missed or misdiagnosed.
Oh, because I mean, you know, yeah.
I know now.
It's a weird place to be in, because you're not angry at your clinicians, because they're doing everything they can. They're only human. I mean, like Luke was saying, I think maybe you need to get a bit of therapy, because I was having meltdowns daily with this pain, with this ultrasound situation. So when they said that, I was like, this is ridiculous. And then they lost it. So somehow the file from Western Hospital where I had that ultrasound to see about the coil, couldn't transfer it to the BRI, their computer systems. So I had to have another one. And I'm thinking, I'm in pain right now. I'm bleeding. In every ultrasound, I'm having to have something put inside me. Why are you causing me unnecessary pain? I didn't have a good time with my relapse. So then they got me a second ultrasound, and that woman was lovely. And she actually said, this is what we're looking for. So this is what we see. So obviously there's no coil here. I'm going to flag this. So she was telling me what she was flagging. And she did say there's something here, but it could be anything. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I feel like much more comforted. Yeah. And I waited, and then I went to Glastonbury. So that was all the lead up to Glastonbury. I made sure I was on tranexamic acid. I made sure I was sorted for Glastonbury. And from all of that drama, they'd booked me a CT scan. So I left Glastonbury very early on the last day to beat traffic and then get home and get into town and at the hospital in time for my scan. And on that scan, wow, it showed that I did have tumours there, so that it was back. That was the first time that I found out it was back.
So did they say it's back, or did they say this was here before, or
no,
they just don't know?
They said, you have got tumours there, and I started crying, and then they made it worse by saying, and also that scan you had back in September, there were tumours on that as well. And so I was like, the same tumours? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so you missed it. Like, I didn't know what to do with this anger. Yeah. I actually stormed out. I had to leave the room. What do you want me to do with this? This isn't a regular... No. This isn't how I would relapse. Relapse, you find stuff on a scan, you act immediately. And I just felt like I'd lost a year. Yeah. Like, I'd reached my year, and I'd reached my cancerversary of a year in remission, and I really hadn't. I'd only made it 7 months. I'm thinking, I've been dealing with this has been inside me, and I'm fine, so maybe it is all good. Like, there's so much going through your head. I
can relate to that, because that's how I feel right now with this tumour in my brain. I'm thinking, but I feel fine, so how can it just be my breast cancer spreading?
Like, I think it's weird.
You know, and that's what I think, like, for me, that's the denial part.
There are stages. I think you do, when you get diagnosed, there's stages of grief,
How is it possible? I feel fine right now.
Yeah.
Like, how?
I did Tough Mudder a week before debulking surgery. So that was what happened. Things got set in motion. And I wanted my surgeon, so I met with her, and there was basically like, we're just going to make sure we can remove them. That's what we want to make sure. So she outlined that they always tell you there is a risk of death, and I think every time I have an operation, the percentage like creeps up ever so slightly, and so that's a bit you just try not to think about that. So she outlined the risks, outlined possible outcomes. So on pretty much every surgery, they've kind of been like, yeah, if we have to resect your bowel, you could end up with a stoma. And that was like the worst thing ever. I was like, I don't want a stoma. No, that's horrible. I was so ill-informed about a stoma that I was very conscious of body image, and I was like, I don't want that. Will make me just feel horrible. I really don't want that. And I think that's why I hold Claire in such high regard and high esteem, because she has always managed to do the outcome that is best for me. So this operation, when she was like, you could end up with a stoma, I ended up having a bowel resection, and they were like scraping my bladder. I ended up with 20 tumours on that scan that they found. There was just
20 tumours.
Yeah, so it was a very big debate of how they were going to remove them, whether you could do like a plasma jet, which is basically like just scraping away like very finely, or whether you do go in and cut around. But there was one by my aorta artery, so it's quite difficult. So they did have to get like bowel specialists and everyone. It was a big team. There were like 12 people on my team. I was in there for 9.5 hours.
Wow.
Big operation. I almost want a weird video of it, because I know that they were like moving the table at all angles to try and get me, because I woke up and my face was so puffed up from all the oxygen and everything. Yeah. I was so puffy. I've got pictures of me like with my eyes like fused together.
Oh, bless you.
So yeah, it took a lot out of me, and I think because it was such a long operation, it was their last one of the day. They weren't doing anything else, so they cleaned up the operating room, and then they let my family in. So I was out of it. I'd woken up. I was obviously conscious. They were talking to me. I don't remember a single thing. Yeah. And Gemma, part of the theatre team, she was like, oh, it's quite emotional actually, because that's just overwhelmed by all this love. And I mean, even getting to my operation was dramatic. Like, another messy thing of my story, because it got cancelled the first time round. And I don't know if anyone knows what's involved with abdominal surgery, but bowel prep is not a thing you want to be doing excessively. Taking this horrible sachet, not being allowed to eat for 24 hours, and then shitting everything out. You have to just empty everything, be completely empty.
But it's so hard being stressed out and hungry.
Yeah, and
it's
I had to do it twice.
It's hard enough, you know, with anaesthetic you're not allowed to eat beforehand. But it's hard enough. 24 hours. No, thank you.
No, I
would have flipped.
I tell you what I did. Every time I had to have a sachet, I had 2, I think, a day. 2 for that day of bowel prep. And it tastes horrible. I hate drinking them. I hate it. To this day, I refuse. So I would suck a lemon sherbet. That was my way. I would suck sweets. I'd be like, I'm not eating it, Mum. I'm just sucking it for flavour. You were allowed to drink, so I drank bouillon. So I basically was just drinking hot vegetable stock. Because I was like, I need some flavour. So that's how I got through that. So when my operation got cancelled and I knew I had to do that again, I was not a happy bunny.
No.
So when my actual operation day was 2 weeks later, and I was just trying to, in that 2-week period, I was like, I've done Tough Mudder. I just have to do loads of things to just keep my mind off the fact that they could be growing and it could be a very different outcome. Like, who knows what's going to happen in 2 weeks. So I went gliding, went up in a plane. That was really fun. I know.
Amazing.
My dad swung that because he found that out and we had a really, really nice time. Did Alton Towers. I think it was 2 days before, actually. I tell a lie, but I had a bit of an adrenaline junkie week. So when I went in after I woke up, and they were like, "How do you feel? Are you feeling quite sick?" Just me dosed up on just went. I tell you what. I have had a very busy week of lots of adrenaline, of making me feel quite sick. Like, all of those roller coasters, just my stomach's been turning. So I don't know if I feel sick from this, like that you've given me the wrong drugs or not enough. Maybe it's just a lot of adrenaline. Like, I chatted so much shit to this guy who was just like looking for a simple scale of, are you sick? Would you like more meds or are you not? And I just detailed my life story of the past week to him.
That's you.
Oh, it's so me. I had the surgery and then I waited for my results. And because I every time I get to a new part of the story, I literally have to do and this is when it gets messy. The whole thing is just not straightforward. Like, I've had missed tumours, I've had like actual scan results going missing, and now I find out I was misdiagnosed. So this was when it was like, right, I've hit peak now. Nothing else is as bad as this. To go in to this checkup on my own, see my surgeon, see my consultant, and then go, yeah, so we've done a few more tests because obviously we diagnosed you with ovarian. That's what you fit for all intents and purposes. Nothing flagged up on the previous biopsies. But we took these tumours. We took biopsies of your previous tumours from your previous surgeries, and we just decided, let's test them all again to make sure, because obviously it's come back. We want this to be gone ideally, and you haven't got ovarian, you have DSRCT sarcoma. So I'm thinking, like, what the fuck? I've got chemo next week, so am I not doing that? And they were like, no, you're going to be having very different chemo. Actually, you're going to be going to a completely different department, so I'm not going to be your oncologist anymore. So I'm thinking, why? And he was like, because you're not a gynae cancer anymore. You're a childhood cancer with a completely different team. Okay, so I know you're one for Googling. Even though you don't like to admit it, you're one for Googling and finding survival rates and things like that. So DSRCT means desmoplastic small round cell tumour.
So yeah, your cancer is like super rare.
Yeah, it's quite rare. Yeah,
quite rare.
Quite rare. 200, less than 200 cases, I think, since it was first reported in like 1989, maybe. Maybe that was when people first kind of started describing it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's not the most fun with rare cancers. Not just because they're rare, it's purely because just people don't know enough about them. So for regimes, so chemo regimes and treatment regimes, they didn't have a specific one. They followed, like the sarcoma team, they follow a similar one to Ewing's sarcoma. So they just go, like, the few people that we've had that reacted best to Ewing's regime. So that was VDC over 2 days, so vincristine, doxorubicin and cyclophosphamide, and that was 2 days in hospital, and then 5 days, like a week, like I think they do like 10 days afterwards of IE, so ifosfamide and etoposide.
That's
over 5
chemo
days.
type.
Yeah, so they're the 5 drugs you have for my regime. So that was I was just introduced to the world of inpatient chemo. It was what it was. Chemo's just chemo. It wasn't. I really wished I went in with it in thinking like with no expectations, not trying to think, oh, it'd be like the films, like I'll throw up and do all that. Because apart from feeling really crap and having a horrible taste, did kind of breeze through it. Like I had my down moments, but to me it was just this whole like, no one else has got this, I know, so it's almost quite dramatic, and
it's
you
crazy,
feel
isn't it?
It's not like you don't feel special, you just feel like so different that you may as well try and enjoy what you can. Inpatient chemo, I just was like, I don't know what to expect. It's going to be so different to anything. I'm not going to enjoy staying in hospital. That's going to be it. And I wished I'd prepared for the enormous amount of beeping that bloody drip did. Hate that drip, just in my ear all the time. And doxorubicin turns your pee orange. So I have a toner that was the same colour, and I couldn't use it for a while.
The Red Devil.
Red Devil, everything's just horrible.
I had that. I hated it as well.
Yeah.
It made me really unwell as well.
The nausea you get from those. I had to be on like loads of antiemetics, and if I didn't have them, I did throw up. So I didn't have a good time with that. And because of COVID, they cut it short. They had a sarcoma conference and were like, we don't know how much to give you. Like, it's every single answer is, we just don't know. There is not enough research with it. We think you've had enough. Maybe this is enough for it to go and stay at bay for a while. Like, I was termed incurable, as in it will just keep coming back. And so it became a quality of life kind of, we'll give you enough treatment to get you to keep going without much intervention, because you don't want to be on treatment for the rest of your life. Like, I could quite happily stay on treatment and it probably won't grow back.
Yeah.
But what sort of life is that?
Yeah.
It became
it's a balancing act, isn't it?
It is balancing up really things you don't want to be balancing up, really.
No. How much chemo did you have?
I think I started in October, because obviously after my operation, which was in September, I was then going to go on to do the ovarian chemo, and then that changed, so we didn't do that. So I think I did end up starting in October. It was a bit of like an iffy period, and then cut short to March. So it was a bit odd, because they never knew how much to give me. I'd be going in being like, I'm really hating life right now, I'm not enjoying it, can I stop? And then obviously when I started feeling better, I was like, I can totally do it again. Like, your brain just kids itself. It really, I feel like, well, that's what I've experienced. My brain forgets trauma so that I can carry on.
That's good, in a way.
I think a lot of people do get that, like, with pain, like, that's why you forget the pain you experienced when you were a child. You just tries to forget the trauma. So my brain did do that quite quickly so that I could kind of get over the hump and get on with it.
Yeah.
So when it got to February, I was like, so how long do I have left? And he was like, I think we'll do maybe like 12 cycles and then you can finish in May. And I was like, okay. And then I'd be like, oh, look, I don't want to be really ill and I'm going to London, so can I delay my chemo? And they were like, okay, I mean, you've already delayed it a couple of times because of pain, but yeah, that's fine. So I ended up stretching it out a bit more. So then I went in and was like...
So whilst you were on chemo, were they doing scans in between to see how you're doing?
So with the chemo I was on, they were worried about my heart, so I had an echo and a CT scan beforehand. And then after X many chemo sessions, you have another echo, just to monitor things, because I think when things go south, they go south quite fast.
Yeah.
Then I got to... like just before I was finishing, and it just kept getting, it seemed like they were just stretching out. It was like, yeah, we'll finish in May, yeah, we'll finish in June. And I was like, when am I finishing? I just needed like that end point. And then COVID happened, and I went in expecting on my cycle 8, and I was expecting obviously 12. Cycle 8, I get told, yeah, so we've had this conference, we think you've had enough. Here are your 3 options. 1, we stop treatment and you do this one and then you go about your day, because we don't want you to have a low immune system for COVID.
Yeah.
We want you safe. We're going to prioritise your immune system. 2, you go to maintenance and you just do VD without, well, you do VC, so basically the 2-day chemo on a lower dose without the doxorubicin. So I was like, I could do that, because it's the dox that's horrible, that's the Red Devil. That was the second option, and the third option was to do some radio. And I was like, we know that my bowel, with the amount of pain of like why I had to delay chemo for a couple of weeks, we know that I would not do well with that. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to do that option really either. So that's why we agreed on maybe I've had enough, let's cut it short. So I finished in March for all intents and purposes. And
I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, that lucky
boom,
person chemo.
she's done.
And I had to carry on through COVID.
God, I
I do
don't know
remember
how you did
feeling
that.
very... It was a very nervous time, but I remember you
Yeah.
being like... Well, I was really happy for you. I was genuinely really happy.
It's a
because-
weird mix, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of kind of being happy for someone, but then also
Look at us
being
now,
like,
though.
why?
Similar hair
We do look
length.
twins. We're twinning so hard. Which is why I'm quite glad that if you've now got to have further treatment and I've got to have further treatment, we'll just continue twinning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then my first 3-month scan of remission was clear, and the anxiety I had before that was horrible. Like, scanxiety was bad. It was through the roof. And then the 6-month one, like the most recent one, I tried to mellow and just be like, what will be, because I was expecting my cancer came back obviously on that 7-month September scan I had that they missed. But oddly, I thought my anxiety was going to be massively worse, because I was thinking like, I'm kind of hit in the same time, like between 3 and 6 months was when it last go back. And lo and behold, obviously it did exactly the same thing, like it's grown back.
So you said it's in your lymph nodes now.
So
what lymph nodes are they? Because like I know you have lymph nodes like in your armpit.
you have lymph nodes everywhere, don't you?
Yeah.
So mine are in my abdomen, like at the back.
Yeah.
So these are the same lymph nodes that have been kind of like fluctuating throughout treatment. So at the beginning they were really raised, because they can inflame from everything. They can go, like if you have like the flu or diarrhea, like they just go wild. And I know I wasn't very well when I went in for that scan, so I was kind of pitting like, oh, please let it just be like slightly like that, because normal is 0 to 10 millimeters, and my 2 that were raised again that had been going everywhere were 11 and 13 mil, so they're like really like marginally over. So I had to battle with myself of being like, that's not the worst news in the world, as in it could have spread to my lungs, like it could have gone anywhere and it could have been bad. Like, it is an aggressive cancer, but it could have been like punching the shit out of me internally.
Yeah.
And instead it's kind of, the disease is visible, like it is visible on the scan, that's why they noticed it, but it's not so out of control that I'm thinking, shit, I'm going to die tomorrow. So it's trying to manage that anxiety of letting yourself feel sorry for yourself and having those down days, but then also trying to pick yourself back up and be positive where you can. So that's my roller coaster.
What's the next step for you now? So you're waiting for another scan at the moment, or
I have another scan in January. So then it's going to be like go discuss it behind the scenes. I think a lot of treatment deciding is going around of what to do next, whether surgery is an option. I think it's going to be a bit of a difficult one. It's going to be as big as last time, with where they are. Another kind of trying to get through everything to try and get to them, and with lymph nodes, you need lymph node specialists removing them, because it's a bit of a tricky deal. So when I'm more in the know, I can obviously detail it very specifically, but right now I'm in a very foggy spot of just not knowing. And I think that's the whole thing I've learned with sarcoma, is that you just don't know. That any question you have, it's always good to have questions. I keep a log. I think you do that as well, don't you? You kind of have the questions planned before an appointment.
when they come to
Because
me,
you
I just
forget.
write it down. Because in the appointment you're like,
in the appointment,
nothing.
anyone who asks questions in appointment has definitely not thought of them on the spot. If I have to think of anything on the spot, I'm like, I'm gonna go now, I don't know, sorry. So you plan. So my parents have ingrained it into me to have questions ready for them to answer in those appointments, because there's so few and far in between. Like, when you have an oncologist there and present, tell them there. So I've just learned, if I have a question, the answer I'm gonna get is, I mean, I can tell you an answer, but obviously I can't be certain of it, because we just don't know. There's not enough of you. So I mean, there might be a clinical trial I could hop on, hop off, and go about my day. I don't know. It's fingers crossed. That's all I'm doing at the moment.
I think that must be so difficult for you, knowing that you have to go through chemo again and stuff like that, and be like,
oh, don't.
But I suppose you're like accepted it, and you have, like you say, you have good and bad days.
Yeah.
But for me, like, fine right now, and that's what I'm gonna just enjoy. Like,
we're
me
good
worrying about it, and I think you're quite similar in that fact, because like we went for a dog walk this morning. I'm like, other than our hair, no one could think like these two girls are riddled with cancer.
And well, that's what's so difficult, isn't it? We are so perfectly fine with
Yeah.
cancer that I'm thinking, well, what am I going to be like if I'm bad with cancer? Then that things get shit. So the knowing that something's inside me that it shouldn't be there, that we really want to go away forever but potentially won't, the thing that keeps me going is that I know I'm healthy with it.
Yeah.
When it's there, it's not bothering me. And when it does start bothering, that's when I should worry. So it's almost like, you know how some people go, I'm saving my pain 10 because you don't want to admit that this pain is getting bad. It's almost like that. I'm waiting to admit that shit's going south, because until then I can just kid myself and enjoy my life thinking I've not hit the worst yet. Things always get worse. And especially seeing other people with their own cancer experiences and going through their own shit. And if it is worse than you, then that is a real, like, stark reminder of things can always get worse. So kind of be... No,
just
it's not even
one
being
day
grateful.
at a time, isn't it?
Yeah.
Taking the day as it is and be like, this is how I feel today.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm dealing with. And, you know, if today is a bad day in my head, I feel anxious and nervous and whatnot.
Yeah.
Let's rationalise those thoughts. Why are they there?
Yeah.
What do they mean? And everything in between, basically.
Taking time for yourself so you don't get carried away by your own crap. So, yeah, I mean, that is literally my roller coaster of... Everything that could go wrong for me has probably gone wrong for me. And your roller coaster of a journey has taken place in different countries across the globe.
I wouldn't say it's as bad as yours. Obviously,
it's just different. I don't know how you.
We're at the moment we're on the like tipping point where we're like, wow, is it gonna be okay or is it gonna be bad? But my diagnosis, I already touched in quite a bit of detail in the video on YouTube. But it all started off. Similarly to you, actually, all started off with fatigue.
Oh god, yeah, the biggest symptom.
I was so tired, but I had just had a revolution in my life. I was working and like my life was work, and I thought I was like gonna achieve something.
Did you live for work?
You
didn't work to live. You lived to work.
Literally. So I was 21, so I was already a young adult
with responsibilities
and a job,
independent.
And then I was Miss
Independent woman.
I was trying to be. I was really trying. And I had just been feeling very tired, very drained. Like I said, weight gain. You were talking about your bloated belly, and I'm sat there thinking, geez, maybe I should like get checked out because I'm very bloated.
No, it's not because you're that. Bloated. You just eat massive portions. The Lithuanian diet of
it's the steroids,
of potatoes and carbs.
It is. I agree. Found the lump. I didn't think much of it. I was trying to see a doctor. I couldn't. One thing led to another. I ended up in Lithuania in a private clinic, and the doctor told me there and then, just from doing an ultrasound, it's cancer because it looks like cancer. And that's not something someone should do. The only way to confirm that it's cancer is by having a biopsy, by taking those cells and testing them.
It's a way of like, just don't freak out before you need to.
Yeah.
Because there
can be many reasons why you have the lump and whatnot. But, you know, that's what it is. And, so when they did the biopsy in the lump in my breast, they called me back into Southmead Hospital in Bristol, and you know, I was sat there, and the first question they said, something that's always, at the moment I'm noticing that more, they always say, so has anyone said what this might be? And that's when you know you have to worry, because you know bad news are coming. Yeah,
because someone's debated this. Yeah, and they've talked.
And I said, well, yeah, they told me it's cancer, but obviously you guys told me not to worry until you know for sure, through the biopsy. And they said, yeah, well, it is cancer. And then straight away my question was, what stage is it? I don't know why, because it didn't really...
It's weird how stages become so much more irrelevant the longer you live with it for.
Yeah, like, so I was like, what stages? And they said, well, at this point it's in your breast and in your lymph nodes, so stage 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's not too bad. That's all right.
Yeah.
And, you know, breast cancer is just so... People say it's the good cancer because obviously there's so much research, there's so much more involvement in it.
Yeah.
But It's not.
So you have the good
cancer.
cancer.
No cancer is good.
No, it's not. That people really should.
And obviously, I'm grateful. You know, straight away they knew what chemo cycle I should be on, which one's the most effective, and it was very effective. And similarly to you, then, so after the diagnosis, I went straight to getting the fertility stuff sorted out, which we already discussed. So I have 12 babies on ice. Lovely.
Yay!
Which was good. All good. Like, I'm grateful that that's even an option.
Yeah.
What they don't tell you, though, is after 5 years, you have to start paying.
Yeah, I'm ignoring that. I don't know what's going to happen.
I know.
It's very confusing.
It's nice to have that option there.
Yeah.
And then fast forward to, like, mid-January, I started my chemo, basically. Had chemo from January all the way through to end of April, which doesn't sound that much, but it was the longest 4 months of my life.
Yeah, time ceases to exist when you're going through it, doesn't it?
I think I finished end of April, start of May kind of time. So that was fun going through cancer. At the age of 21/22.
And the thing is, when you're our age,
into COVID.
Oh god! And with everything that's going on, when you're our age, people just go, "Oh, but you're so young," and it's like, I know. You don't have to remind me of my age. Like, yeah, what does that help?
Young people don't get cancer.
Yeah,
young people don't get cancer.
No, just shut up.
Shut up! Just shut up! I finished chemo, and that was like I said before, the chemo was very effective in the fact that it shrank my tumour massively. So it went from, I feel pathetic saying 4 centimetres now because yours are so much bigger.
Sorry, I'm just winning all of this.
Cancer trophies.
Trophies. I'm winning all these cancer trophies, yeah. I mean, I told you I was competitive, I always win. Just don't, this isn't really something I want to win at. Just the size of tumours.
So yeah, it really shrunk the tumour down, which was really good. And then doctors said we should do a lumpectomy and do...
What's that?
So when they just cut out the lump rather than removing your whole breast.
Oh, so a mastectomy is
the
removing...
whole breast.
Okay.
And then lumpectomy just when they just removed the lump.
Okay. So were you okay with that? Like
I want the mastectomy.
So you just wanted to be titless and safe.
Yeah. I was just like, just get them off me. I don't care.
Yeah.
But obviously, in this day and age, doesn't mean I'd be flat. It means I would have a reconstruction.
Oh, cool.
Oh my god, you get a free boob job! Wow, that's so lucky. I know.
I wish I had a free boob job. Why would people say that?
I'm going to slap the next person that says free boob job. But because of COVID, that was not an option anymore.
Oh, no.
Because they said, it's not like life or death.
It's not crunch time.
Whilst I was going through chemo, I got contacted by the genetics team because when they diagnose me, they then ask about cancer in your family.
They do they try and do the family tree and hereditary things and genetics and testing. You go off to Spain, don't you? your DNA goes off to Spain and they check it.
We looked at the history of my family. My family is absolutely riddled with cancer. And my diagnosis was really difficult for my mum, or for anyone, I guess, in the family to process because we lost my cousin to lung cancer. And he was quite young when he died. I think that he had died so young from cancer was really difficult for my family to deal with because straight away that's where their mind went.
Yeah.
And then we looked at the history and like I said, my family just has so much cancer from my mum, to my granddad, to my dad's side as well. So they decided to test me for the breast cancer gene, the BRCA1, I think, BRCA2, and then there was another one which I do not remember right now. Yeah,
the BRCA genes, they've been found to just impact a person's chances of developing. So you have those genes, you get a mutation, and that's why your chances are now more likely because you don't have that defense genetically.
So when I did the gene testing, that took a few months to come back. So I think I was towards the end of chemo and making a decision about the surgery, and they came back to me and said, "Yeah, we did find that you have the BRCA1 gene mutation." Is it called the BRCA1 gene mutation?
Yeah, because I got tested for that as well when they obviously thought I was ovarian. They were trying to find an explanation for it, and I came back negative, which I didn't think much of at the time. And then when you realise what that means, if you have that gene, it becomes the fear of will I pass it on to my kids? Like,
exactly.
Obviously your family of women are now thinking like, do I need to get tested for the gene? Like, it puts a weird span in
and
the
that's
works.
the difficult thing is the way they choose which genes you're gonna get tested for is they look at the history. So they're like, right, so there's lung cancer, there's breast cancer, there's ovarian cancer in your family, so we're just gonna try this mix, and obviously there's thousands and thousands of different genes that you can get tested. So just narrowing that down and finding that out. So mine came back BRCA1 gene mutation, and that's, I didn't think much of that before, and then actually before the surgery I started thinking, okay, so I already got cancer at the age of 21, so I'm already above the average person, if that makes sense. Like, I'm already beating the odds. And then on top of this, I've got this gene, which is what increases my chance of having cancer again.
You didn't really have the best on like a genetic back foot, weren't you?
So that kind of made me go and look and research into preventative surgeries and whatnot, which is why I'm very keen to have a mastectomy with a reconstruction. And what I very quickly found, my doctors weren't on
They
board.
weren't keen, were they?
They're not keen at all. And actually I had a very bad experience with a breast doctor at the breast clinic, who isn't my doctor, but he spent an hour having a go at me, telling me how I should be more worried about this cancer killing me and coming back and killing me than a new one starting in my breast, and I shouldn't be worried about having a mastectomy. And for me, that just really threw me and just really annoyed me, because I was like, this is my body. I'm living with this anxiety. This is not for you to decide. And then he's like, yeah, but how do you know you're not going to be anxious about the fact your boobs don't feel the same? I'm like,
I'll be alive.
I don't care. I'll be alive. Obviously, maybe I'll be down about it or whatnot, but I don't care, because I'll have that peace of mind at least a little. I don't know how I'm going to feel, obviously, but at least I have that peace of mind that maybe I've avoided or reduced something. And in the end, I ended up having a lumpectomy, because they said, COVID, everything like that, let's do the minimum, what we need to do. And surgery during COVID is very different to normal surgery. The fact that I had to go in what they call a clean hospital. So it's having a COVID test a few days before your surgery, and then self-isolating until your surgery and not going anywhere, and just being dropped off by the door by your loved one and be like, bye, see you later.
See, that's horrible. Like, you weren't allowed anyone in, were you?
No, and I had, like I said, I've never had surgery before, so this was my first
really daunting
big surgery, and I'm just sat there with my bald little head with a few fluffs on top. In a way, like, for me, it wasn't that hard dealing with this with COVID, because I don't have much family here in the UK. So I'm used to just always FaceTiming my family, my sister, my mum, and whatnot. So
that
in a
was
way,
your setup.
in that way for me it's easier. Because I'm not used to having them here. Like, when I first got diagnosed, my brother flew over literally like days before lockdown happened. And he spent some time with me and took me to my chemo and whatnot, which was really nice. And I think obviously that would have happened more if COVID didn't happen, and more family would have come to see me and look after me. But in a way that makes it easier. It's just not having that one person, in which in my case is Liam, who has been my like go-to,
your real confidant,
my comforter. He wasn't able to come to hospital with me, and was really scary because I'd never been to hospital on my own before.
And whereas I'm absolutely swarmed by people and inundated with I just get head massages by people. That's what I do. Amazing. I'm like, I'm in loads of pain. Can someone rub my feet, please? And my legs, and my shoulders, and my head.
So that was very strange in that sense. So you go into the hospital, and you're just waiting for your surgery to start. And I know I trick myself to just feel quite positive and whatnot. I think saying bye to Liam was really hard. Okay, this is
you have the surgery panic. You always, obviously, just like you want it to go smoothly. And
like, how am I gonna react to anaesthetic? How am I gonna feel when I wake up? And stuff like that. So I went into the hospital, had the surgery. The surgery was like 4 hours, I think, something like that.
Did you have general?
Yeah.
And we love general, don't we?
I don't know, because when I woke up, I know when they started
Oh
waking
no,
me up,
you!
I was projectile vomiting everywhere.
Oh, I can't believe you had that. So I'm there just like happily counting back from 10. I said, I was on one of them, I said, so is anyone going to tell me to count back from 10? And they were like, no, we don't really do that. And I was like, well, I've seen it in the movies and I'm doing it. This is my film. This is a movie of me. I will do it. I got to about 4 and then I was like,
it's weird. It's the weirdest sensation,
because time ceases to exist. You literally go to sleep and then you wake up. And I just feel like if death is like that, then
happy days.
It's weird. It's like it's a mind exploding moment, isn't it? Of trying to comprehend that you've just lost that time and you have no concept of what happens. Yeah. Your mind is blank. It's really
I remember
odd.
Bled on the operating
when you were
table.
going under.
Yeah, that was going under. The lady was just chatting, and you know the conversation for me is always the same.
See, I was
Where's your name from? Where's your name from? Where are you from then? How long have you been here? Do you prefer it here or back in Lithuania? I'm like, well, obviously I prefer it here since I live here. Like,
yeah, this is my home, guys. So you have weird conversations, and I'm just there jamming to the wombats. They actually followed me. That was the best thing from my hospital experience.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I was playing that. My surgeon played. She came in obviously prepped because it's like girls. That's my team. Yeah. She came in. She was like, right, I've got my phone. Got my Spotify up, what do you want to listen to? So I queued loads of songs, so because I had to have like an epidural and everything, there was a bit of faff beforehand of sticking needles in places and me doing my typical I'm going to cry and freak out and then be like, I'm fine guys, sorry, bit of a lapse in judgment, let's forget that, carry on. That's what I'm like. And then my mum and like kind of orchestrated loads of people to message the wombats because I'd seen them at Glastonbury, and obviously Glastonbury was like my last good memory of freedom before my relapse. And they were I literally am in love with them. And then I got a message from them after waking up, like just thrown up from fentanyl, having a really, really crap time. Could barely look at my phone, and then I just get like from the bats, and then I get this whole message, and I was like, oh my god, they followed me. So I mean, to me, good things happen in surgery, but for you, vomit happens.
Gemma Kennedy, if you're listening, I love you. I have a brain tumour, so if you could like message me. Literally my dream. I love him so much. I'll make you listen to him in a minute. Yeah, so I woke up projectile vomiting everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't remember much, and I know that about 15 minutes after that I was kind of awake, and the surgeon or whoever came in and he told me all these facts about like how the surgery went.
Yeah.
And then obviously I didn't remember. So for 3 days I kept asking the nurses, like, so how many lymph nodes were taken out? How was the surgery? Did they manage to remove the whole lump? Blah, blah, blah. And they were like, we don't actually really know. We need to wait to speak to the surgeon. In the end, they kept me overnight because, I wasn't feeling too great. But pain-wise, I was fine. And my problem is that I'm really stubborn. So they're like, don't get out of bed. Like, ring the bell. And like, well, I'll help you go to the toilet. So I'm there, like, I had drains
coming out of you, yeah.
Drains coming out of me.
Because you had a drain in your boob, didn't you? That was like a wire.
No, so I had the drain it's like in my back.
Oh no, I'm thinking of that thing that pointed to the tumour. So you had something going in your boob before,
yeah,
and then you woke up and had something coming out your boob. Yeah, that was a tube.
It was a tube to like drain the fluid because obviously the lymph nodes weren't there anymore to drain it.
Okay.
So that was interesting. Oh yeah, actually going back to that. They put a wire into my boob.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Because I had a wire too that dripped local anaesthetic under my scar. And I remember them yanking that out was just not fun. So we've had, So
the wire for me was so that when they went to operate, they would just follow the wire.
It was like Hansel and Gretel just leading up to it.
They would just follow the wire to know where the tumour is because it had shrunk so much. Yeah. They couldn't see it anymore properly.
Yeah. Which is good.
Yeah. But what's funny is I've got a video is when I had the wire in the day before, every time I'd breathe in there'd be like a creaking noise, like an old door. It was like,
it was weird, wasn't it? Not your breathing, that was the wire going.
Yeah. funny. So yeah, and then I woke up with drains, and because I'm really stubborn, and I just feel bad for the nurses. I'm like, oh God, I don't want to.
We've led very different lives in surgery because I've just got my morphine button. Like, more, give me more.
No, I wasn't in any pain at all. I did really well after surgery. I was so pleased, but that's because all my nerves were damaged.
Yeah, all your nerves are damaged, and I've just been like ripped open.
To this day, I feel nothing in my left armpit. So like, it's a curse and a blessing. They let me go home the next day, really, and I had a really nice sleep.
Oh, that's really good.
I love sleeping in a hospital because the bed, you can like adjust it.
We've had very different experiences.
All I know is the whole evening I kept ringing the bell and going, could I have another sandwich, please?
You and food. More cups.
Could I have another sandwich, please? And they're like, are you in pain? I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm
just
good.
I
just want a nap. I felt really bad for the nurses because I'm like, I don't want to like, I don't want them to feel like, I don't know. I'm just very thoughtful, I think. But I'm just like, I don't want to write down.
Can you hear that? Oh my God, the modesty. I'm just very thoughtful. I love that. I mean,
I don't want to be like, bring me a sandwich, make me a cup of tea, help me go to the toilet. So I'm stubborn, so I
if it gets them out of cleaning up shit and like pee, I think they love it when you talk to them. And I'm grabbing them over and I'm like giving them sweets. Like I ordered for my first operation, because I was completely oblivious to the severity of my situation, I ordered misguided parcels. And my brother brought them in. It was pyjamas that I was going to wear in the hospital. And I was like, I'm wearing this gown. I need to be butt naked underneath this blanket because I don't want anything like constricting my abdomen. Yeah. So I don't know what I was thinking. But I do remember when my brother brought them in and he put them on the side. I'd always be by the window, which was great. If there's ever a bay free, always ask for the window. That's my top tip, because they have like you can sit by the edge, because obviously the windows are bays. A ledge to sit on, and you get all of that extra space. So all of my stuff would be dumped there. I'd have like presents, cards, balloons, all of that jazz from all of the people that were really, really loving and thoughtful. We would have like loads of people. So like my brother would be there, my dad, mom, and then my nurses would come over and they just watch me unwrap these parcels and try to waste as much time there as possible before they were like, right, we're gonna have to go back to our day now. But my dad would always bring in like chocolates and sweets, and it would like make their day. He'd be like, I've got some here. Like anytime he stayed with me in chemo, he'd bring in like a box of heroes or something. He'd be like, this is for the night staff, because I mean, you can have a long night with this one. Just constantly ringing the bell, going, "I've weed again."
I want to do as well, like make sure I bring presents for the nurses. Yeah. I mean, my present is a present because I'm just so lovely and funny. But
I'm really proud of that word pun that you made. Well done. All the way through this, I felt like English that woman off 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown, where she's like correcting, like she's the dictionary woman. I feel like her. So I'm very proud of you with that pun. You're welcome.
So yeah, after surgery, I then got 4 weeks to recover.
Yeah.
4 weeks to recover, and then they were like, we're going to start radiotherapy, which was like, great, easy part. Which it was, in a way.
In some ways, yeah.
The difficult part for me was, I live about 55 minutes away from Bristol.
Yeah.
And when my radiotherapy started, it was Monday to Friday.
Did you do chemo or radio first?
Chemo first.
You did chemo first, and now you've
done radio. So it was chemo, surgery, radio.
Okay. Is that like standard?
I think it is. Yeah. So that was really difficult for me because every single day I had to drive to Bristol.
Oh yeah, because it's not like radiation. You don't stay over, do you? You just come in for your appointments.
You literally come in like 15 minutes
in and out.
I think that they would do like a scan every Friday, an additional scan, so that would take like half an hour. But every single day I went in for 15 minutes.
It's a very hard-hitting 15 minutes though, isn't it?
It is with what because you have to hold your. That was my worry. You have to hold your breath for 20 seconds, and I was like,
"You're no swimming Olympic champion."
Yeah. I was like, "Oh my god!" And then they need your chest to be as still as possible.
Yeah.
And then there's my cancer's on the left side.
Yeah.
They're like, if you breathe out or you move, there's a risk. The radio beams.
Breathe in and hold your breath.
The radio therapy beams will hit your heart, and then you're at risk of having complications.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh my god, I'm relying on myself to not make my heart bad.
So just another panicking moment for you.
Yeah, it was, but then I got used to it actually, and it was just like, you get into the routine. So you go in, you have your little blue radiotherapy gown, you get changed, By the end of it, I think I didn't even bother going to the changing rooms. I just walk into the room, take my bra off, put it on, be like, there you go. Like,
shake it like your mum gave it.
Well, because I said to the radiologist, what's the point of me going to get changed in the cubicle if in a minute I'm just going to
you're going to
see my boobs anyway?
Yeah.
Free the nipple. Free the nipple. So it just makes things quicker as well.
Yeah. All about that swift get in and out as fast as possible.
And that was okay for like the first 2 weeks, and then week 3 I started to get really fatigued, like really fatigued.
Fatigue kicked in.
And it was really hot because it was like August.
So your hot flushes were just not helpful then.
Yeah, so my cancer is fairly responsive to hormones. Because of that, I've been put on a medical menopause, which doesn't only stop basically your ovaries from working how they should, and like from you releasing the hormones. It also helps like going through chemo to reduce the impact it has on your ovaries.
Okay. Not that I've ever had to worry about that.
Yeah, true. So being on this monthly injection of the medical menopause as well on top of everything
you
else.
have the injection.
Yeah, so the thickest needle that you can imagine, that's what goes into my belly every single month. Once a month.
And I just have gels that I rub into my legs.
It's honestly, I am quite good with needles, but that injection, I cannot. It literally leaves a hole in my belly.
Oh, because it's like the worst I've ever had with needles is Clexane, because it obviously is like that's your blood thinners for after surgery.
But that's quite a thin needle.
That's a thin needle, but it hurts like a bitch and leaves a bruise. Yeah. But I couldn't do a thicker one.
But that's the thing, that needle's so thick, I'm not even allowed to do it myself. I have to go to my GP every month to do
physically am repulsed.
Yeah, so that's not fun. So on top of having the menopause, having hot flushes, bone pain, everything like that, on top of that I had the radiotherapy, and the fatigue really kicked in after 2 weeks. Yeah. So I'm still trying to drive to Bristol every day myself and get this done. Yeah. And it just like, it started getting really hard. I was just like, okay, so at what point do I draw the line? And I'm like, it's not safe for me to drive anymore. Yeah. Because I'm just too fatigued. Yeah. And I was very careful to make sure that I make the right decision about it and not put myself or other people at risk, because that's just selfish.
You're so thoughtful, like you said.
And obviously lockdown was lifted and traffic was increasing.
Getting a bit heavier, yeah.
And it was just a faff. And then I had so I started feeling very fatigued, so I was getting more agitated and more like upset easily. And then one day everything just went wrong. There was a power cut or something in the hospital.
Interesting.
I drove all the way to Bristol at 2 p.m. No one had rang me to say that at 9 o'clock that morning they had a power cut and my appointment had been cancelled. Yeah. So I drove all the way there. I got in and they're like, "Oh, we cancelled your appointment. Did no one tell you?" And I was no one told me. And I literally just burst out crying. I went up to the TYA team. I know
they are so good in hospital. I know. I don't know what I'd do without the TYA team.
And I literally just kicked off because I was like, this is so unfair. You know, I drove all the way here. Like, I understand things happen. That's fine. I think then the next day I came in and they were like, we moved your appointment to like 6 p.m. And again, they didn't tell me. Yeah. And I was like, well, this is ridiculous. I'm driving here a very long way.
It's very difficult when you're definitely further out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm right at like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
it was very difficult.
Quite an impact.
And I understand things happen, and like, I do feel sometimes selfish being like, oh my God, but you know, it's me kind of thing. But so yeah, in the end, you know, things went wrong and I was just really tired and I was like, right, that's it. I can't be driving myself here anymore. So then I had to rely on Liam to take me every day. Yeah. Which is, you know, him having to work and whatnot is not easy.
It's trying to work way around lives, isn't it?
But, you know, I finished it, and then I think by the end of it I was so tired that actually I ended up staying in Bristol. So TYA sorted out accommodation for me.
Was that Seiko?
Seiko.
Yeah, okay.
And it was lovely because it was a very nice like roundup, because I stayed in Bristol. I got a friend to come and stay with me and we went out for dinner and whatnot, and then I had my last day of treatment. And that was like very lovely, but actually the last day of treatment was really strange, like feelings wise, because I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen now kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, that's briefly my overall treatment thing.
So yeah, Seiko have a partnership with Teenage Cancer Trust, don't they? So because obviously they understand that people are traveling all over like where we are in the southwest. So and it's like difficult and it's really costly, isn't it, to find places to stay when you don't want to have to keep doing these journeys. So Seiko basically offer apartments free of charge at short notice to families needing accommodation. And they have these in like the city central, like Broad Quay.
It was right on the quay.
Right on the front. So I just think that's really good because I don't think they have their London ones anymore. Like when I used to go up to London, I used to stay there. But it is so nice. It means you don't have to do the journeys.
It's studio flat with everything you
really
need in there.
nice.
If you want to cook for yourself, it was
convenient.
Lovely.
Really, really great.
And I was so grateful for it because I thought this has really helped. And it was really nice for me to just be able to walk to the hospital myself and not have to worry about getting a lift.
Not relying,
And yeah, it was lovely. Honestly, it was so good for me. But yeah, so then I finished treatment. And that was that. 27th of August, I finished. And I was just like, what's just happened?
Then it hits you.
And then I was like, because I was supposed to start this new job back in January. I was like, I just want to start work. I just want to go back to normal. I want to feel normal. So I emailed them and I said, I finished my cancer treatment. They think all is good. And that's the only thing that worried me is I never had a final scan.
Yeah.
And I never had that. Right. You had a scan, that's it. Because obviously, what could have they scanned? They removed everything they could.
Yeah.
Them making a scan would have not shown anything.
No.
Like in my breast or anywhere else. So that was very strange because they were like, oh, so you're in remission now. But there's not like that final thing that they do to be like, oh, it's remission.
It's actually really like
strange.
Unclear line, isn't it, of remission? Of like, you have a clear scan, your treatment plan regime is finished.
Yeah.
But you feel like this should be a really definitive moment, which is why obviously some people ring the bell because it feels like it's a finalised, like, moving on.
I know that when I finished radiotherapy, I saw the bell and I looked around the waiting room and there was no one there.
Flick it.
So I just took my phone, I walked up to it and I flicked it.
Just
and
like,
I was like,
fuck
that's
off,
it.
You're a little, like, cancer's as annoying as, like, a shitty little flea.
Because the bell, for me, I wouldn't want to do it because I wouldn't want to be like, I'm going to jinx myself. Yeah. And also knowing that in the waiting room there's people that
it's
have
an awareness of people
cancer.
that won't ever ring it, isn't it?
I personally, it's not for me. Yeah. But I did, the waiting room was empty, so I walked up and, like, flicked it.
I think that's the only benefit, isn't it? Is that you want to, like, pat yourself on the back that you've got through, but a bell is just the wrong thing. It just feels like such an arrogant... I don't know, it's a weird one. The only good thing about the bell, personally, is that it signals remission, and it's like an actual thing that happens to make your mind think you're now moving on to the next chapter. Otherwise it all blurs a bit. But I don't really like the bell idea. No, I think it's just a bit.
And also because of COVID, like, no one's there, like, no one's allowed in the waiting room with you. It's not like you can bring your family and celebrate with them. But I don't think I think I'd rather ring the bell at home if I wanted to.
And like
not
in
front
private.
of loads of people that potentially are in a much worse situation than you. Yeah. But you know, it's everyone's choice and it's there.
Oh, it's one of those, because you said you literally said to me earlier that you were like, oh God, you're done and I'm carrying on, like, obviously I'm really happy for you, but like I'm having to go through chemo and COVID. And it's one of those, you can't help these feelings. There's nothing wrong with seeing someone in a currently, you don't know what they're going through, but currently they're in a better situation than you. There's obviously nothing wrong with sitting there feeling like, well, great, like, I wish I was you, or why can't I have that outcome at the moment? There's nothing wrong with that. So to kind of put something right in the centre of a waiting room that just invites those thoughts, those really intrusive thoughts, to the forefront of your mind, it's just, like, not good. It's not helpful, is it, really? No. So that's like a weird bell. So then it just, like, blurs. But at least you tapped it, you said, shit, you moved on to that.
But the emotions on the last day of treatment were so much different than what I had imagined. Yeah. Because I thought I'd be, like, absolutely over the moon, be like, yeah, this is over, this is done, this is the best. And in a way it was the worst.
And really you're just like, what next?
Like, it just hits you, like, what have I just been through? What just happened? Yeah. Did you feel similarly?
I felt like I didn't, the last day I had in hospital when I got home, because obviously mine was so quick, it was so like, yeah, this is your last one. It's not like I was ticking off boxes. It was like, oh, I'm literally suddenly home.
Yeah.
And it just gets like the day, because every time for inpatient chemo you have to call up and ask the ward if there's a bed for you, and if there's not a bed you have to wait until they've cleared someone out. Not that sounds really wrong, just like they have someone out, some really ill patient. It's just because they have the adult ward, so people that need chemo will definitely have priority. With the NHS, with lack of beds, it's very much a priority thing. So if you're having chemo, you need to be specifically there. If you've come in overnight with a temperature, then you'll be moved, just nature of how it is. So you have to ring up. So the day I got to that, once my treatment had finished, and it came round 2 weeks later, where I was obviously, for all intents and purposes, I was meant to be going for my 9th cycle, and when it got to the point where I just overslept and could sleep in, and I was like, I don't have to ring up anymore. Like, it's those things you realise.
It's like almost your routine has changed.
Your routine's changing, but you're still remembering what you would be doing. So I'd be like, oh, right about now I'd be calling up, or right about now I'd be like going for a wee, and then then you think, oh right, like now I'd be home, and then 4 days later you're like, now I'd probably be trying to have a poo from all of like the laxatives I'm taking. Like, you just have that routine that now it's not there. The only thing I was having was those thoughts of, this is what I would be doing, and now I'm free, like now I can do anything. And then when that slowly dims, those thoughts,
well, then you went locked down anyway, and
yeah,
like...
so you just kind of slowly lose the routine, slowly, like you forget, and then you just kind of gradually get back to a new thing. But otherwise it just feels like, whoa, I'm suddenly out of hospital, and you're not really prepared for that to change. No one likes change.
No.
So, and even when it's changed from chemo,
it's like that control has been taken away from you. Like, again, I have this routine, I have this plan. Yeah. And now I'm just dropped back in.
You're left in like trying to muddle through on your own, trying to establish a new routine. Yeah. That's what's quite difficult. But otherwise, you were in a really weird place, aren't you? I don't think anyone could be fully overjoyed.
I think I thrive like in having a focus. Yeah. So mentally I was like really focused and everything. And I had bad days, don't get me wrong. I had some really bad days during treatment. But so it finished, and it was just like, right, so the next step for me is I need to go to work and start this new job and learn it and be excited about that and just be, because I felt like old Liv, my whole life revolved around my job, and I was just so focused and invested into it, which in hindsight was a mistake. But I thought, okay, I'll just go back to that, because this is what I was good at. This is what I was really proud of. I did this job and whatnot. And I tried doing that. So like I said, I rang up the new workplace and I said, I'm ready to come back. And they were like, hang on a minute, you just finished your cancer treatment. Do you not want some time to recover? And I said, no, I feel absolutely fine. I feel fine. I feel good. So they're like, okay, when do you want to start? And I was like, next Monday. And they were like, no. In 3 weeks' time.
They're offering you a get out of jail free card, and you'll go, no, I want to go back to society, let me in.
Yeah. So I was like, oh God, gotta wait another 3 weeks. And one thing about radiotherapy is once it's finished, for another 2 weeks after that, you're still having this effect. Yeah. So in those 2 weeks, my breast and my armpit area were still being fried, as I call it. Yeah. And it started getting really bad and really sore, and I showed you the pictures.
Oh yeah, no, I can't believe that was a boob, really.
And didn't resemble anything. I was suffering pretty bad from that. Yeah. And then in between that, I was just like, okay, I just need to get back to normal. I need to go and do stuff, and I need to prove to myself that I'm just back to normal and I'm strong and whatnot. I walked up Snowdon, and
I get out of breath walking up the stairs.
Exactly.
What are you doing? I mean, fair play.
I don't know how I did it. If someone told me to do it now, I'd be like, I'm not doing it.
Jeez.
And I can't believe I put myself, like, it was so hard. My poor friends, shout out to you guys. They were so amazing and supportive. Literally, I'm not even exaggerating. Every 8 steps we had to stop. I cried.
But that is amazing though, that you've like set yourself that milestone of like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And you have
I was really proud of myself for doing it.
Like overcoming small things.
And then spend 5 days after that being really ill, because my body was just like, oh my God, what have you just done to me? Yeah. But yeah, I did that, and then I was just like, let's travel, let's go see places. And because like lockdown wasn't a thing anymore. And I was like, let's go and do as much as we can in this time. And actually, it was just because I was just lost. I was just thinking, oh my God, what just happened, kind of thing. And
It's the only time
mentally,
really.
I was in such a bad place.
Yeah.
Especially when I started my new job.
Well, it's because it's only really the time you get to actually think.
Yeah.
Like, you go from, you had work, then you suddenly get diagnosed with cancer, and then you have chemo.
Yeah.
So your work routine is replaced with a chemo routine, and then only time you get to really just, do nothing. Because even though people think, I have this conception that the misconception that if you're having treatment, obviously your life has stopped, so you're just not doing much, you're just trying to, not be ill. It's well, no, it's almost like you're putting in a whole working day just connected to a drip.
Yeah.
So then when you finish, you've just got all of this time where you're I have nothing. And you've got to feel that. So you were filling it with I want to do trips, I want to try and get as much life experience back that I've missed out on.
And also I think there's almost this pressure about people not understanding cancer treatment, and they're like, oh my god, so that's it,
you're done, oh my god, you're done, no more, woo. And it's
and you're no, I've got another 10 years of being on a menopause, dealing with hot flashes and bone pain.
It's the side effects.
I've got the trauma, I've got the PTSD, I've got all of this, and it's all happy days if you're able to just brush it all on the carpet and forget it. But it's a traumatic thing to go through, and
it's
people
aftercare. You need aftercare,
and
really.
people going, oh yeah, but it's done now. Well done, yay! Oh yeah, happy days, And I think people don't realise actually that more than anything, you need your friends after the treatment.
Definitely more so than during. I agree, because you've gone through trauma. No one realises that it is literal trauma. Your tit, for example, went through some trauma. Your boob has seen some shit from radiation.
Yeah.
My stomach's been ripped open several times over. We have been through very traumatic things, and not just physically, mentally as well. So afterwards we're suddenly expected to just rejoin society, kind of try, as in slipping into the mold of what we were before. And it's literally not. It is a new normal, and that sounds really unthreatening, just saying, oh, new normal, we'll just work with the new normal. But it is the most terrifying thing ever, because you have no clue how to navigate this. So that's when we need if anyone's going to huddle us and smother us there with blankets and colouring books and all that thoughts and prayers stuff, that is when you would wrap us in it.
And I got so much love and support, and everyone was like, oh, you did so well, Liv, and people say that a lot. They're like, I don't think I could have done it so well like you did. And I'm like, but you don't know until you're in that position, because
you don't know until you try.
Try it. See how you like it. So I think that's a very big part. It's just after the treatment, it's just having that support from people. And it's not even it's a very difficult balance, because you don't want to be always talking about your cancer life. No. But what else is there to talk about?
What else is there to do but make a podcast and talk all about us?
Me. And then obviously I got about 5 weeks into my new job, and I was so excited because I was like, I'm gonna buy all these lovely office outfits and just go to work and have this routine and just be back to my element, be back in my element. And then my job were like, so you'll be working from home because of COVID. And I was like, what?
I didn't do this for nothing.
I spent 9 months at home, and now you're gonna make me work from home.
Stay there again. I want out of these four walls.
Oh God. Oh well. But I got about 5 weeks into this job, and I was devastated because I just realised I'm not me. Yeah. The chemo brain, the tiredness, the fatigue, and obviously whatever this brain tumour was doing as well on top of it. It was just so upsetting, because none of my work colleagues knew about that I've had cancer. No. So I made a big deal about being like, don't tell anyone. I don't want anyone treating me different because they know I've been through cancer. I don't want anyone giving me extra support or whatever.
You didn't know how good the cancer card was, did you?
No, I know I could use it, but I just didn't want to. I didn't want to be treated differently. And then I was like, everyone must think I'm a dick because of the way I am. The way I can't express myself, the way I can't talk properly, the way they're the girl that's training me, she's like, Liv, if you click that red button on the left there on your screen. I'm like, where? what? And I'm like, they must think I'm an idiot. You know? So actually then I was like, I have a confession to make.
My cancer confession.
Here's my cancer card, alright? I'm not stupid.
Here it is, I'm slapping it down and now I'm going to use it more than my debit card.
Love that quote.
That's my favourite quote, it's in my bio. I think I'm live by that. If there's any quote to live by, it's that one.
You always use your cancer card. And then, obviously, this whole thing about the brain tumour came around, because I was just not feeling good. I just had a massive meltdown one night.
Yeah.
For no reason. I was like, I have no reason to be unhappy right now. My life is really great. Everything's going well. And I was like, I want to die. And I was just like, I don't know why I feel like this. I was just crying non-stop. And the next day we were going up to Scotland to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
And this is something I wanted to do for absolutely years. It's been a dream. And I was like, I don't want to go anymore. That's it. I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that was. I don't know whether there's like a pressure point somewhere in my brain from this tumour.
As your brain going, I can't deal.
Yeah, there's something really wrong. Ended up in A&E the following Tuesday because my GP couldn't work out why this weakness in my left arm was happening.
What, why your left arm and left leg just decided to
They just went
disconnect.
lazy. Yeah, lazy. And yeah, so I was at work on the Tuesday and my GP called and said, so I'm not quite sure what these symptoms are that I checked yesterday, but if you could go to Bristol A&E,
go there quickly.
Yeah, ASAP.
Get on.
Then, get it checked out. So I went there, and obviously I had a CT scan and an MRI scan.
Yeah.
And then they kept me in overnight, because they just wanted to make sure I'm okay, because obviously with this arm weakness. And then the oncologist comes in and I've been put on a ward for oncology and I'm thinking, oh god,
this is fun. COVID times, no one's here, I want to go home.
Yeah, I'm home. I'm there alone.
Yeah.
I was crying like a baby because I don't want to be alone. I want Liam to sleep here because he is my safety blanket, and I just like it, it was a shock.
Yeah.
Because here one day I'm being told you're fine, we cured your cancer, and then less than 2 months later, they're like, oh, we think this cancer has spread to your brain.
That was a bit of a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
It's not something you were really expecting.
No, and it was a shock, and it's just all part of dealing with it. But so they kept me in hospital that night. The next day I had to have another MRI and another CT scan. The CT scan was to determine if there's any other tumours in my body, if they can see anything else, which they haven't, which is really, really positive news. Good. Unless they miss something.
Let's not. You're not me.
Yeah,
you're not me now.
And yeah. So other moment, it's been just a waiting game really, and doing this podcast and everything like that has been a very good way of me being distracted. And it just the way it changed my whole mindset about this cancer stuff.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm like, I want to talk about it. I want to raise awareness. I need everyone to know.
Yeah.
And I need everyone
You became an influencer overnight.
Live their life to the fullest. That's
Liv wants to live.
I want to live.
And she wants you to know it.
Yeah. And I just want people just like, oh my God, just enjoy your life. Like, you don't know how fragile. I never knew how fragile my life was until now.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm scared of dying. I'm not. For me,
you can deal with death. It's just another thing to deal with.
Yeah.
It's the impact on everyone else. You can't control however
I'm more worried about other people's feelings.
Yeah.
That's always me.
Yeah.
I'm more like, oh my God, don't be upset for me. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. I'm such a bad person. You're upset about me.
It's hard, isn't it, dealing with other people, knowing that what I have to do is it's my body, it's my mind. I'll sort myself out. But yeah, that added layer of, oh God, everyone else is reacting around me and I have to respond to it. It just is, it's a bit of pressure. It makes me sad.
Like, I'm just like, oh, just don't be sad for me. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Look at me, I'm fine. I'm smiling.
We're
really
perfectly
happy right now.
healthy.
Yeah.
We're perfectly healthily
we're
unhealthy.
We're growing a few tumours. There are a few growing. But right here, right now, we're fine.
We're a little bit riddled. We're a little bit riddled, but just a smidge.
But to add more trauma to the story, I was discharged from hospital. They very quickly realised that we both had a sore throat, no taste or smell.
Oh no!
And the thing I said to Liam was, Liam, we've just
get on that track and trace app.
I was like, we've been through so much stress and trauma. you know, it's been a shock. We just spent like the last day crying non-stop.
And of course, the cherry on the cake
not eating.
is COVID.
And I said, you know, I don't think it's going to be COVID. Like, how? You know, we've only been in hospital.
We've only been in a very infected place.
Yeah. And yeah.
So
we went and did a test and it came back positive. And I was like, oh, this is just great. And we were sat there saying, were we like serial killers in our past life that we used to kill
Why?
children?
Yeah.
Like, on top of this trauma. And I think by this point, I was just so traumatized and so shocked that I just laughed. And I said, it's fine. Just take one day at a time and we will see how we feel and hopefully it will be okay. So at the back of my mind, I'm like, what if this tumour flares up and I feel really unwell and I have to go to A&E because I'm like, I don't know, I'm starting to have a fit. What do I do? Call an ambulance. Hello, we have someone here who's got COVID, but she really needs your help.
Yeah.
So that was like, I was just so scared. I was thinking, God, you know, what's going to happen?
It's not really something you've ever had to freak out about.
No.
Pre-COVID.
Cherry on top, basically. Called my oncologist and I said, I'm so scared, you know. And he was like, well, don't worry, Liv. Like, we're not just going to leave you to die. Like, there's equipment and it does make things more difficult with you having COVID and getting help, yes.
Yeah.
But, you know, the help is there. And I was like, okay, you made me feel better. But luckily, the steroids are working. So the swelling on my brain is reduced. My left arm is in full action. My left leg is in full action.
If you were a left-handed teenage boy, you'd be in your element.
Not with the menopause, I wouldn't be.
Wink, wink.
Libido is no more. Libido?
Libido? Libido? Do you mean libido? I think she does. Libido. Moving on from our
and then today, as we're recording the podcast, I received a call from a neurosurgeon, and we discussed options,
which is really, really good.
And I'm having my brain surgery next Friday.
Yeah, Friday, is that the 27th?
I feel like this date is very significant because on the 27th of August I finished my treatments. Oh my goodness.
When were you diagnosed?
27th
of December. Wow, okay, she's living.
I'm living. 27th of December diagnosed. 27th of August I finished. 27th November. 27th of November I'm having my brain surgery.
Well, you don't have all these dates you have to worry about. It's just 27 and then the month. It's just limiting what your brain has to go with.
I shouldn't really focus on that. Maybe that's my lucky number. We'll see. But yeah, I'm having brain surgery, guys.
Woo!
Keep me in your thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers are welcome now.
So that's my story so far. So this cancer is being labelled as a metastatic
breast cancer to my brain.
But obviously we will know that for sure in due course. So please tune in and listen for updates.
Tune in to the angels.
Yeah, we will
on the
know
27th.
after the surgery. Well, we won't know straight away, will we?
No.
And I think it'll be quite a long road to recovery for me.
Yeah.
But from I just feel happy that I have a date.
You got something to work towards.
I was talking to the neurosurgeon today. I think he quite liked me actually, because it was quite funny.
It's always good to get on with your surgeon. People cutting into you.
I said, I don't know if you were able to tell me, but do you know when this surgery might be likely to happen? He literally opened his diary and went,
I could do it.
I can do it next Friday, 27th. I said, yeah, I'm free about midday. Let's do
that.
It's a date. Let's do that. And he was like, lol, funny. Thinking, God, you idiot, you don't know what's coming.
Maybe I'll cut that bit of disconnect her, the bit of her brain makes jokes, maybe fine tune it a bit more so it's actually funny.
There you go. No, but he seems sound and I'm really excited to just get the surgery done and be on the road to recovery, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Keep everything crossed for me and hopefully I won't wake up projectile vomiting again.
It'll be
from this surgery.
Let's hope not. Actually, though, I wish you would projectile vomit, because at least then you know that you can and you haven't forgotten the damaged part of your brain that makes you forget how to vomit.
Yeah, that's true. But no, I'm happy that I've got the surgery happening and that this tumour will be coming out, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then we will go from there, really, and take one day at a time and recover slowly, and hopefully get back to normal.
Yeah. So in that sense, that's where we're at with our relapses.
At this point, I'm not having more chemo, which I'm really pleased about.
Yeah, that is really
maybe
good.
more radiotherapy if they can't remove the whole tumour, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. At the moment, no one's mentioned chemo, and I'm just holding on to that.
Yeah.
The only thing I did say to the doctor, are you going to be shaving off my hair?
And he's not, is he?
And he's not. It's amazing. I love medicine.
So we're going to stay twinning?
Yeah, we're going to stay. I might just have like a massive scar across my skull.
That'd be so
with
interesting.
Like a one
we can compare scars.
I'll have like a
so
line.
Far I'm winning with my scar.
A bold line going through my skull, but that's better than being completely bald.
Oh yeah.
Especially after all this hair growing I've done.
You've done it's very curly.
It's very thick and curly.
Thick.
That's maybe the only good genes I have in me.
Hair genes.
Good hair genes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where we're at with our relapses. So on that note, we'll catch you on the rebound.
Not the relapse.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.